Hi everyone, we're continuing our series of beginner chess videos here on My Chess Notebook. The purpose of this video is to get used to the chessboard and a lot of terminology regarding the chessboard, and we will learn how to set up the pieces in order to begin a game of chess. So you're looking at an empty chessboard which has 64 squares. The squares are in 8 files. These vertical rows of squares are called files. And there are also 8 ranks. Ranks go across from left to right. Okay. All right, and when you do set up a chessboard so that the two players are facing opposite of each other, then the light colored square needs to be on the right hand of the players. So think of the person playing the white pieces on the bottom of this board facing the board. On his right hand side should be one of the light colored squares. The color scheme on a chessboard could vary. Sometimes they are white and black, sometimes they're tan and brown, but we always have light squares and dark squares. There should always be a light square on your right-hand side. If you're at the top of the board here with the black pieces, you'll be facing downward. This square will be on your right-hand side. It's light. So remember the rhyme, light on right. Okay, so let's set up the pieces. So we know that there is a row of 8 pawns, and white's pawns go right here on the second rank. The rank on the bottom is called the first rank, and we just put the pawns on the second rank. Likewise, black has a row of 8 pawns, not there, but here, and those pawns are on the 7th rank. So we have rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the 7th rank. Okay, next we'll place the rooks. The rooks go in the corners. There are 2 white rooks and 2 black rooks. So here's a white rook, here's another white rook. There's a black rook, there's another black rook. Now next to the rooks go the knights. So the knight goes here and here, and the black knights go here and here. Next to those go the bishops. So bishop here and here, and a black bishop here and here. Beginners often get those pieces switched, bishops and knights, so take care to memorize that now. Maybe a helpful thing to remember is the knight's first move can go to the edge of the board like that. So if you remember that, the knight can go to the edge, then you won't get the knight and the bishop switched, because if it were here, the knight would not be going to the edge of the board. Okay, so the knights are next to the rooks, and then the bishops are inside of the knights. Now the king and queen are also hard to remember which one goes where, but there's a nice rhyme for that. Queen goes on its own color. Okay, well, it's not really a rhyme, but it's a little saying. Queen goes on its own color, and what we mean by that is the white queen goes on the light colored or white square, and the black queen goes on the dark colored square or the black square. And notice how the queens face each other in the same rank. They're in the same vertical row here, which is called a rank. And next to those queens, of course, go the kings. So king here and king here. So practice setting up a chessboard. If you're going to play physical chess in real life, make sure the light colored square is on your right hand side. Okay, now that the pieces are set up, I want to mention some more vocabulary here regarding the chessboard. Notice from white's perspective, the king is on the right half of the board. Because of that, the right half of the board here that I'm outlining is called the king side. There's a king side on the right, and there's a queen side on the left. So if we put a knight here that's a knight on the king side of the board. If we put a knight here, that knight is on the queen side of the board. It's good to know the vocabulary so you can learn chess that's being taught to you. You can read books and you can listen to other people talk about chess. Okay, another important aspect of the board I want to talk about is the center of the board. The center consists of these 4 squares in the geometric center of the board. You can consider an expanded center, including the squares around those, but this is really what I'm going to refer to as the center of the board. And it's going to become important to discuss the center in future videos. So those 4 squares are in the center. So for example, white's first move of a chess game could be to push this pawn 2 squares forward, and now that pawn is in the center of the board. If instead white pushes this pawn 2 squares forward, then that pawn is near the center, but it's not in the center of the board. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is a coordinate system. If you look closely on the right edge of the board here, you'll see some numbers on these squares, 1 on the bottom, 8 on the top. Oops, let me get that centered again. So 1 on the bottom, 8 on the top. And if you look across the bottom, I'll move these pieces out of the way for a moment, you'll see letters. And the letters start on the left, and you see A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. These are the names of the ranks and files. So the file on the left side of the board is called the A file. Here is the A file. Next to it is the B file, then the C file, and so on, all the way to the H file. And the ranks have numbers. This is rank number 1, or the first rank. This is rank number 2, or the second rank. We mentioned this rank was the 7th rank, and the top rank of the board is the 8th rank. Well, using the file and rank names, you can name every square on the chessboard. For example, let's name that square right there. That square is in the C file, and it's in the 4th rank. So that square is called C4. So we name squares by naming the letter and the number that the square is in. So it's in the C file and 4th rank. That's C4. Let's practice that again. What about that square? What's that called? Yes, that's called H5. It's in rank, the 5th rank, and it's in the H file. So it's called H5. What about that square right there? Yes, that's called E4. It's in the E file, and it's in the 4th rank. So that's E4. Now, naming the squares is going to become important later on when you need to be able to write down your games and record them, and also to be able to read other people's games or to study chess books or to just understand people talking about chess. You'll often hear people say things like, I moved my knight to F3, and that's what they mean. That's the F3 square. When you play a lot of chess and you get used to the files and the ranks, you no longer need the letters or the numbers written on the board. You may own a physical chessboard at home that doesn't have the letters and numbers on it. Well, they don't really have to be written on the board. If you remember, the letters start on the left and go A through H, and the numbers start on the bottom and go 1 through 8. Then you could figure it out yourself. You can count your way over. So for example, if you wanted to know what this square was and you didn't have the letters and numbers on the board, you would start on the left and say A, B, C, D, E. Okay, it's in the E file. And you start at the bottom and you would say 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'd say, okay, that's E4. And after you play a lot of chess and you name the squares very often, you think about the names of the squares, it becomes automatic. When somebody says E4, you immediately think about that square. When somebody says B7, you immediately think about that square. Okay. But that's something that will come in time. For now, I just want you to be aware of how to name these squares. Okay, that's it for this brief video. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you for the next one.